Hello, welcome, brave listeners, to a Halloween edition of Behind the Curtain. I am Gio Battaglia, a little bit disguised for today's episode. Just wanted to do something a little bit fun and throw together a little wickedly Halloween costume. Obviously, dressing up as Alphaba. I have the green face paint on, as we can see. A little poorly done, not as vibrant as we know Alphaba to be. Got the cape, hat, broom. Coworkers were very excited to see this one. I walked in today. But nevertheless, as it is Halloween, I also have a very star-studded and fun show for you. We're conjuring a special guest, the brilliant Mimi Kennedy. Her Rochester roots have showcased, we've seen on the bright lights of the stage and the screen. She's woven humor and heart into every role. She is returning to Rochester next weekend, and we're pulling back the curtain on her journey home. So light the jack-o'-lantern, settle in, and listen closely. Something inspiring and a little enchanting is about to appear. Here is my conversation with Mimi Kennedy. All right. So with your accomplished career in Hollywood, we've seen so many accomplishments from you. What brings you back to Rochester for this event and to come back with the Rochester Community Players?
Because that's where I first acted on stage, and in the 60s when I was 12, and even before that, I took acting classes, and I was on the big stage for the graduation of the acting classes, and it's because I saw my mother act there. She was an actress that Harriet Warren used often in her plays. It was a big deal when mother did a play. She had to arrange the household domestic order just so that she wouldn't be terribly missed in the evenings. And it was very exciting to see her on stage. And I found out not too long ago that my great aunt, who was the sister of my grandmother Love, grandmother Landy Kennedy Love, she was a widowed by Mr. Kennedy, who I never knew, and Judge Love married her. So her sister, Aunt Frances Landy Mangan, Mr. Mangan, captain, was a war hero, World War One. Frances married him while she was acting. They were married for an hour. And they were married and had an hour together. And then he went to be deployed to the war. And she went on a train back to perform, I think the matinee or the evening that night in somewhere like Syracuse.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was very romantic. She was in the papers a lot as war bride of 1 hour and war hero's bride. But she was an amazing dynamo. And I have her letters. I have an amazing scrapbook. She helped Mary Finucane start the early years of the Rochester Community Players. This is the 100th anniversary. So 1925, the Roaring Twenties. And she saw it from 1939 to 1953 as president. So we always knew about the community theater, and I knew it as where my mother acted and where I was dying to act. And so I took the children's lessons and acted on stage.
I love it. I love that family connection there. Just makes it all more valuable.
Well,
Uh,
that's what it is. It's a community theater, so it's about the people um, on stage. It's not celebrities that you'll never meet. It's your people, your dentist, your postal worker, your parent, your uncle, your aunt, your nephew, your brother, yourself getting to act in a play and being directed by someone who knows what they're doing and therefore can help you know what you're doing. Um, I don't know that it might not even be more professional now than it used to be because so many people have taken some lessons or other in how to present themselves. But yeah, it's thriving. It's community theater. And there was a movement called the Little Theater Movement in America. I think after World War II, but maybe beforehand. And RCP was part of that. But it's now, I think, the second oldest community theater in the United States, the one that's lasted this long continually.
They both do a great job of kind of nurturing local creativity. Why do you think community based arts organizations like this are so vital?
Um, well, because identity is gotta be more than tribal, you know? I was brought up Catholic. I loved my religious education. My sense of religion is much wider now and not as boundaried as it was, and I think that's healthy. My sense of who I am is not as boundaried. It's not about being Irish, which it was for, oh, since my immigrant great grandparents came over. My sense of being white is not as, it's not the dominant culture, of course, which it was when I grew up. And every aspect of boundary, skin color, religion, even language, it it has to get much well, as Father Greg Boyle, the Jesuit, says, we have to live on the margins because on the margins is where stuff is really happening. And I believe that community theater can bring together people, and it's a margin in itself because it's where people meet not within their tribe of doctrine or belief. It's where you come together to do a play, which is a reflection of human community, so it might deal with the Irish or the Catholics or August Wilson's Black History plays or whatever, but it's where you all come together to do that and serve the play. I think it's an incredibly healthy exercise, that makes us more flexible, and for our own self-identities, besides the community, there's who are, one's own self. And I think that's a really hard thing to get to in this human life. And I think theater helps that because you stand in front of people and express something, usually being someone you're not. You're mimicking life, but you learn a lot about yourself doing that. And when you do it well, it feels fantastic.
Yes, you definitely know when you've,
Yeah.
just as you said, done
Connect.
it well. Hit the nail on the head. And you're going to kind of bring that community together when you stop by on November 9th. Talk a little bit about what is in store for your appearance here back in Rochester.
It's kind of a marathon. I am doing a book signing and a book reading from my memoir, which was published in 1996. It's a mid-career memoir. It doesn't include everything, although the new paperback of it does go up to Mom and saying goodbye on Mom, the whole run of Mom. But I don't tell those stories. These are the stories of being a child in Rochester and why I grew up to be an actress and how that all unfolded. And it's good and it's painful and bad. All of it, I tell. And, there's a whole chapter on the Rochester community players, and I think I'll probably lean into that a little bit, but also my parochial schooling and the nuns at Mercy High. Mercy High, I'm going to their fall musical on Saturday night, and I'll be able to talk to the cast afterwards, Mean Girls. I'm very excited to see that. I was the star of many a Mercy musical, so it'll be a real wonderful return to that auditorium and me in the seats, the audience seats. I remember what it was like when we did Grease and Elizabeth Taylor would come. I'm no Elizabeth Taylor fame-wise, but that frisson that goes through the audience that's there watching, I know what that's like. And it's really fun to be queen of the supermarket parking lot and to be able to bring that to my old high school. On Sunday, it is the soiree of the community players, and we're all dressing up and meeting at the Century Club. I believe that it is from 4 to 7 p.m. And I'll have a few remarks there, but mostly I'm hoping to just hang out and talk to people. I'm excited to be there. It's a fundraiser for, I think the ticket is $75. And a lot of people who have acted in the community players over the years will gather. They'll see each other for the first time in a long time because that's something that happens with actors. We create a community to do a project or a play, and then we disperse and professionally disperse to another project. So people are always saying, "Do you know Allison Janney?" Yes, of course, I know and love Allison Janney. We don't talk on the phone. She's off doing another community project. Once in a while she gets together with the West Wing people because they are asked to gather a lot. But many of the people that I've been in community with have passed away because I was often, the young one or the young wife or whatever. A lot of people from Dharma and Greg, the two husbands who were the parents, have passed away. So I have my real life too, and that anchors me. But I'm looking forward to watching the community ties that have been created over the years happen at the soiree. And it'll teach me something, and I hope I'll have something to contribute.
Oh, for sure. That's going to be a great weekend of hearing each other's stories and bringing something for each other to digest at the table. And when you have that opportunity with the younger actors after you see the Mean Girls musical, what are some words of advice you might give them that even our audience can take away?
Mm. Well, of course, I'll be responding in the moment. I'm sure that everything about their performance will give me something delicious to say about each one. I wish I could do it by name. It's so important that way. But I will praise them. And I will also tell them how they affected me. In general, they asked me to speak beforehand about Mean Girls and what the play means. Well, guess what? Never seen it, never seen the movie. In fact, I've had an aversion reaction because I thought Mean Girls in high school never would happen at Mercy. We were not punished, but we were reproved for even seeming to be in a clique. We could not wear pierced earrings to school because some other girls don't have them, and we don't want to make them feel bad. I kind of loved this about Mercy. It taught me community then and how the nuns kind of had to form it. Now today people, well, what do you mean I can't wear my earrings? I'm going to wear my earrings. We didn't do that. So the idea of Mean Girls, it was an undercurrent, I suspect, and I also suspect that being on stage and being the actress, and I helped run the literary magazine and decide who's in and who's out. So people might have very well perceived me as a mean girl who didn't let you into my clique, but I didn't feel that way. I went home on a bus without anybody else to brighten, once we moved out there. I was on my own a lot. So I'll be interested to see what Mean Girls has to say to those Mercians now and why they're doing it. I want to listen.
You are in for a treat with this show that you are going to see. I saw at least the Broadway version, so I am curious to know how they dial it down for a high school production, but you are
Are
in
there
for a
things they need
treat.
to dial down?
Maybe just a few.
Oh, interesting.
With many people knowing you from Dharma and Greg and Mom, they know shows that balance comedy and heart. How do you approach those roles that have that humor and emotional depth?
Well, I think humor exists in everything. I was trained in my family to approach um, grief with humor if we had to. It was a way of consoling people in bad circumstances. And my father was really funny and really good at that. And my mother was the most honest person I could ever have imagined as a mother. So I had this sort of humor and pushing pushing out and this honesty and inviting in. And that combination serves me well as an actress because I think it's all one and the same. They say tragedy is easy, comedy is hard. I don't feel that way. Once I trained in the Sanford Meisner method and I learned how to be in the moment, I did find that my natural reactions to things were funny to a lot of people. And then, of course, if the comedy is written well, as it always is in, say, a Chuck Lorre production, it's surefire and fun to do. But I don't weep easily on camera. I call them beautiful tears, where the right tear just trickles down. And I'm like, do those actors say, stop the camera, put the thing in, do it? Or are they just crying on cue? I practiced that in front of my mirror as a child, and I would think about, my dog dying or me dying. And I would cry in front of the mirror thinking, "Okay, I got this. I can do this as an actress." And I don't. I don't do it easily. And I look at how I react to grief, and it is a very slow, stunned process. I can do it, but it is hard to do on cue 15 times. So that may have obstructed my tragedy career or my dramatic career. But I remember playing Ruth in Homefront when her son died, and people said it was so chilling because I had to find out, fall to the floor, and scream with the telegram coming from the soldiers. And I felt that, and that was easy to do, a kind of a traumatized horror reaction. But the beautiful tear, that's not so much. I don't have that in my life. Isn't that funny?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just a of course, having said that, probably the next job I do, that's what it'll be because I have a funny way of calling in something that I need to learn.
And always can rise to the challenge and do it with success.
Yeah.
So with back coming back to home, I know you just went through your itinerary for the weekend, but is there a place that you always have to make a point to visit when you come back to Rochester?
Well, I am gonna go out to where my parents are interred, Whitehaven. Whitehaven, very fitting for their times. Memorial Park, I'm going to go there. Sometimes I do a little bypass to Canandaigua Lake, which is my favorite spot on the planet. I'm always sad that the lakes and the waters are in trouble in our world, but Canandaigua is beautiful. It was called the chosen place, and you can see why.
Hmm.
Um, I other than that, I've got a pretty full plate, so whatever bed I am in is going to take a lot of me. I feel like Shohei Ohtani of the Dodgers. They said he sleeps 11 hours in order to get ready for a game. I'm like, "Yeah, okay. If you can do it, great." He's a hero in our house at present because I have a Japanese daughter-in-law and Japanese American grandsons. So, watching the Dodgers in LA is a big deal now.
Oh, of course. I think those were all my questions. Anything else you want to discuss before the November 9th visit to Rochester Community Players?
Just that, Karen Olson is doing a fantastic job putting this thing together, so shout out to her, she's absolutely amazing, and, Mary Lawrence Khalil is helping me with the Mercy visit, shout out to her, amazing job, and, with Karen Olson, I think that the Community Players is in pretty good hands, and I hope that we are in tough times, we really are. And some people are feeling it now. Some people even felt it before. And I'm afraid that a lot of people are going to feel it and feel powerless and not know what to do. But of course, we're Americans. We can stand up. We've got to preserve our free speech in the Constitution. And the arts are definitely a workaround to truth and to liberation for all people. So, on a community level, that's where it starts, and inside us, that's where it starts, and we can always, always work with that material because we are, I wouldn't say in control of ourselves, but the beauty, there's that 12-step thing. I played Marjorie as a 12-step veteran for all those years on Mom, and I really did learn that, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change and courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I have found that working in community is a place that you can find ways to make the changes that you would like to see and be in the world. And it's fun.
100%. Yes. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. That was well said. So thank you very much.
Okay, well, it's been fun, Gio. Thank you so much for wanting to interview me, and I look forward to seeing people in Rochester.
Yes. As you heard, Mimi has an exciting weekend that you can get involved with. All that information that she discussed with this upcoming weekend is over in this article on rochesterfirst.com, as well as locations, tickets. It's a great resource there. Coming up after the break, we are going to break down how Hulu's newest series, Into the Void, captures the spirit of rebellion that's always fueled metal's rise. From its underground roots to its global stage, plus the unexpected ways the genre continues to evolve today and how its community has turned pain, passion, and power into something timeless. That is ahead. We will be right back. Welcome back to the Halloween edition of Behind the Curtain. I'm Gio Battaglia, a little disguised today as Alphaba. Wicked for Good comes out in less than a month. Super excited, as you can tell. But before we talk about that, Hulu's new docuseries takes a powerful look at the history of heavy metal, from the tragic deaths of icons like Randy Rhoads and Dimebag Darrell to the shocking Judas Priest trial. The series dives into the emotion, chaos, and resilience that define the genre. It's created by the team behind Dark Side of the Ring. It's called Into the Void, and it goes beyond the music to explore the human stories behind the sound. To discuss the making of the series and the legacy of metal itself, it's series creator Jason Eisner. Here's my conversation with him.
Good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, great.
I'm so excited to talk about this one. When I got the email with the opportunity, I was like, oh, this is perfect timing, right up my alley. So I think we're going to have a good discussion this morning.
Awesome. Great.
So as director and co-creator of Into the Void, tell me a little bit, let's just dive right in. How did you want it to feel different from a traditional music documentary?
I think there are a lot of other like there have been like some great documentaries in the last like decade about metal music, but there have been some before that have like kind of uh dwelled more on the sex, drugs, and rock and roll side of where it's kind of almost feels like exploitative, whereas we really wanted the show to feel very humanizing, and we wanted um the audience to meet like the family members and the friends and the people who were the closest to some of these legends, and just to see like who they were truly were and what they were like and where their art was coming from. So I'm hoping that when people watch the episode or the episodes, is that they can relate to it, and that it's not just a show for metal fans. I hope metal fans will love it. I think they will, but I think anyone can watch the show and relate to the things that these legends went through.
Were there any creative risks that you took with this project that you might not have tried before?
Um, I'm not sure if there was anything that felt like it was outside of our wheelhouse. Like with our wrestling show, Dark Side of the Ring, we've done like 60 episodes, and we have really covered like all types of different stories and lots of traumatic things that are very personal to people. So I felt like we were pretty well equipped like going into this show, and that doing Dark Side of the Ring kind of taught us so much that I feel like Into the Void is our next step in our like filmmaking and storytelling. And my producing partner Evan Husney and I were like probably more proud of this series than anything we've ever done before.
With the series weaving together legends, overlooked pioneers, new voices, how did you decide who made it into the series?
Usually what uh dictates who we want to be in the show is we always want the people who are the most closely and intimately involved in the stories, and the people who knew our subjects the closest. And so yeah, we tend to kind of like we don't like to have like necessarily like expert voices or or like, any sort of like fans perspective. It's we want the people who are closest to it, and then who is willing to talk about it. And with the show, this was our first time doing a series on heavy metal, so it took us some time to gain some trust in the community. And our hope is that when people see the show, they're going to see where we're coming from, and that we really want to show a humanistic side to heavy metal. And maybe we'll be able to do more episodes in the future.
When interviewing the family members, A, who are we expected to hear from? And B, how did you approach talking to them about those painful or more heavy experiences they had with their families?
The way we usually approach it is by telling, we give our perspective of how we want to tell the stories, and it comes from, our, like, in a lot of ways, how we relate to them, and how much of a fans we are of the artists. And it's just spending time with them, like, in terms of the story on Dimebag Darrell. We spent, like a lot of time with his partner Rita before we shot her interview. I can remember we had a great weekend with her, and just getting to know her was amazing. And I think that just helped her to gain trust in us, and let us tell Dimebag's story.
All right. Well, we're excited to hear these stories. Jason, thank you so much. Into the Void on Hulu. We're looking forward to it.
Into the Void, streaming now on Hulu. Thank you, Jason, and thank you, Mimi. Again, all the information for how you can see Mimi Kennedy in Rochester next weekend is over in this article on rochesterfirst.com. Thank you for watching this episode of Behind the Curtain. Thanks for letting me play dress up today, and we'll see you next week. Have a safe and happy Halloween. Take care.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.